What's up, everyone? We are back here inside of Green Goliath Toys and Games, 219 County Route 57 in Phoenix, New York, in the Three Rivers Plaza. Rob Stacy here with me, Dan Chatora. Green Goliath, Super Powered Pop, together twice a month, bringing you live broadcasts on site, on location. Super Powered Goliath. And what I did there was I took a little bit of me, a little bit of Rob, put it all together, mixed it up, and made something cool. Kind of like Professor Hulk, but I don't go there with you because you don't like Professor Hulk.
Boo.
Which is Banner and the Hulk. But he's behind us here, you know, and he doesn't have baby arms. But he's hanging out with us
Dan's
here.
got baby arms.
Baby arms. I have big arms, bro. Get out of here.
What?
So we have the Hulk. Love seeing him here. We just did a show on Hulk Hogan. Now we're here to do a show on the Hulk. So we had
The real Hulk.
Yeah, so we had our Hulks, so to speak.
Right.
Hulk version 1 and 2.
Hulk the Hulk.
A lot of stuff to get into with the Hulk. First thing, Hulk's first appearance was in the Incredible Hulk 1, which back in May 1962. Here's a cool thing about this.
Tails do astonish, actually, but yeah.
You know what I mean? The Incredible Hulk number 1.
I know what you're saying.
So the cool thing about this is that normally characters in comic books in Marvel make their first appearance in somebody else's book.
That is true.
So normally your first appearance is worth the most money, and then your first book by yourself is worth something but not as much. In this case, the Incredible Hulk's first appearance back in May 1962 is the Incredible Hulk number 1. So his first appearance and his first book are together, which is not the case for Black Panther, not the case for Spider-Man, not the case for Cloak and Dagger, and so on, and so the Fantastic Four. So the Hulk is already in a league of his own in that respect. What do you think about that? That back in the day, in the creation of the Hulk, he got to appear in his book. So right from the jump, it's like Marvel trusted that he could be one of the poster children of Marvel.
Because they needed a monster. So back then,
Right.
you know, you got to think 50s, 60s, you know, that was back, you know, Frankenstein, you know, werewolves, you know, vampire, that was like the scary movie back then.
They wanted to scare us.
So Hulk kind of went in that line of some sort of Frankenstein / scary monster type of thing. And they were pretty confident it would pop up.
You know, you have a human being get doused with some gamma radiation and turn into the Jolly Green Giant on acid. I think the monster thing was done pretty well when a human body can essentially take the gamma radiation of he can eat an atom bomb and nothing's going to happen.
Well, who doesn't relate to being so Hulk angry and you want to smash something?
I know that I felt one day there was all this stuff that was going on. I went into Wegmans and I said to the girl that I was with at the time, I go, if someone so much as grazes, like if they hit they hit the back of my foot, you know, when you get that on your Achilles, like I said, if someone hits me with a cart, I'm going to turn into the Incredible. Like, you know, when you have that Hulk moment where that one tiny thing, it's like, I'm going to turn into the Hulk. My pants are going to rip. Dan Smash, baby. I'm going to be going through the meat department. Puny meat, done. You know, like, just hitting it, having the blood come out from the cow. Don't care. But, you know, I mean, I definitely think that, you know, the Hulk, kind of going off what you said, is like, he comes in 1962, and still to this day, more than 60 years later, the relevancy of when people say that they're getting upset or something's bothering them or they're stressed or they're angry, they say they're going to Hulk out.
You won't like me when I'm angry.
And like it's become a part of culture.
Yeah.
That you Hulk out, you know? You look at people in wrestling, in the show we were talking about before, and you compare them to the Hulk. It's something that when you think about like the biggest, strongest, mightiest, like muscles everywhere, this is who you think of. This is your litmus test. This is the biggest of the big.
That's the rage.
And you got pissed. We'll talk about it in a little bit. But you were very unhappy at how, speaking of puny Hulk, how they made him look against Thanos.
For sure.
But we're going to hold on that because he gets Hulk smash angry. So we're going to wait a second. Now, Wolverine is one of the most, if not... Well, okay. Do you think Wolverine is the best foe of the Hulk? Do you think it's the best story?
No.
Okay.
But he's the most popular.
Okay.
I think he's the most popular jump-off storyline.
Right.
Character to come out of the Hulk series, where that was their origin, was through the Hulk comic.
Who is the best villain? Is it the Abomination? I mean, what is it Red Hulk?
I read a lot of Hulk in the 70s.
Yeah.
So I liked when there was somebody that could kind of try to match him.
Okay.
So like Sasquatch, and like when he fought the Thing. I'm old school, so I know those, you know what I mean? So I liked when there was...
The Thing from Fox, because he would have beat him easily.
Yeah, the Thing from Fox. But I liked when he was, like, challenged. There was somebody, like, that was going to try to equal him, and he just always smashed them.
So we talk about the Hulk's first appearance in the comics was in his own comic. Wolverine's first appearance in the comics was in the Incredible Hulk. Now, technically, technically,
180.
Technically, people say the Incredible Hulk number 180, which came out October 1st of 1974, is the first appearance of Wolverine, but the first full appearance of Wolverine,
181 was the best comic.
Was November 1st, 1974. Now, keep in mind, folks, I'm going to say this again. October 1st, 1974 was issue 180 of the Incredible Hulk. November 1st, 1974 was 181. Back in the day, you had to wait an entire calendar month to get the next issue, where nowadays there's like 5,000 issues every like Wednesday, just cranking this stuff out like nobody's business every couple weeks or whatever it may be. Back in the day, in order to find out what happened in 181 from 180, you had to wait an entire month.
Yeah. And then shipping. Then the post office.
Like, you had to be committed. But it also allowed us to read the story.
That's all there was.
Right.
There was no internet. There was no
digital comics.
Dude, there was 3, 5, and 9, bro. Like, it was old school back then.
I used to get free HBO sometimes too. That was cool.
That was even before HBO. Dude, you're like 3, 5, and 9. Maybe 24 if your wings.
I remember you could try and get like Fox on 68. So, you just had
to. So people watching black and white TV. So put that in perspective.
Yeah.
Like, people truly watching black and white TV still.
Yeah.
Are getting colored comic books. That's what made it jump off.
And to go back to that, when they made the Hulk originally, there's the gray-skinned Hulk, because there was there was this scale of them trying to make him green, and then they made him gray, and then if you look at the panels, he would change.
Art issue, and it was gray, so they didn't like it. So then they decided to change it to green.
So, I mean, what do you think about that? That essentially the way that the Hulk originally looked was changed based on it was an artistic choice.
Need.
Right. As opposed to making him so when people talk about, well, what about the gray skin versus the green skin, and will we ever see the gray skinned Hulk? It's just funny that the color changed because of an artistic choice and an artistic need at the time, whereas people nowadays see the two versions and think that they're two totally different.
But there's tons of different versions of Hulk. I mean, Joe Fixit, all the way through Smart Hulk, Savage Hulk, Professor Hulk,
Maestro,
all the way through.
All
so
the kids.
they
Hulkling. I had to. I'm sorry.
But so
like the Beast
Marvel,
kid, yeah.
they were always on the edge of gauging, social issues, along with that stuff in their comics.
And if you look at the original, version of the Hulk and how they drew him, it almost looks like E.T. with a mushroom haircut. If you look at his squeezed-in face with the nose and the
kind
hair,
of flat head, Frankenstein-y.
Yeah.
I mean, they you got to get some. That's how you got your ideas back then.
And he still very much looks like Frankenstein today.
Yeah, Mark Ruffalo.
We'll talk about your pain in a minute, but to get back to Hulk Wolverine, it's one of the most notable, if not the most notable, verses in the comic book world. People have been begging to see this on the screen. there's times where Wolverine is one, there's times where Hulk is one, but you and I are in agreement that if this was a real fight in real life, that I think we both agree there's no way that Wolverine would ever win.
Right. They would never... I just never even understood how it could even be close. Maybe because Hulk was bored that day, or something. Felt like tossing the cat around a little bit. But if there was really,
Just bite his head
real
off.
savage rage Hulk, you've seen where the Hulk is killed in several issues.
Yeah.
Wolverine ripped him in half.
Well, the whole thing is that he can regenerate. So that's the whole notion.
It's hard to regenerate when your body parts are in different states.
That's true. Well, and then also the notion of, because I went back and looked at some of the fights that, Wolverine can regenerate, right? Like he can regenerate his body, and so can Hulk. But when you talk about Wolverine, if you beat his skull in so much that you smash his brain, that even when he regenerates, he still might be catatonic.
Right.
So he could be a vegetable, which means that Hulk, yes, Wolverine could keep coming back, but he wouldn't even have his mind to fight the Hulk.
He'll forget what he was even doing.
Right.
So what was the point?
So basically, if he just punches Wolverine in the head repeatedly, that's a win. And he has ripped him apart. He's ripped apart the adamantium. We know that Wolverine likes to go for the eyes.
Yeah.
So...
Gone.
But it is one of the most notable, and it's happened so many times in the comics. It's one of the most notable fights, and one of the ones that I really caught on to is the Old Man Logan, which I have the entire comic book run of Old Man Logan, unopened, untouched.
Sure.
And I have the run of when Old Man Logan essentially, the incestuous family of the Hulk, ends up killing Wolverine's family. So Wolverine goes to seek revenge and actually has a list and is checking off the Hulk family members.
And then he eats
en route to the Hulk.
Doesn't he eat him?
Who? Hulk?
Doesn't he end up eating Wolverine? Or something like that?
Well, that's the thing is like... and it was Old Man Wolverine.
It got really weird.
Well, that one's very strange because it's like the brother and sister are like having relations and stuff.
Yeah.
It's it was a very unnecessary... It's like Game of Thrones when it's like... Fight, somebody having sex in a brothel for no reason. Back to fighting to the dragon, somebody having sex for no reason. Right.
Yeah.
Like, it got to a point on Game of Thrones where I was like, yawn. I was like, okay, whatever. Like, nobody needed to... And then there was such a long time without the brothel that when I saw it in, like, season 6, I went, oh my God. I don't think we've been in the brothel for, like, 8 episodes. It's been, like, a year. What were they possibly doing?
I know.
Dragons, brothel. I liked seeing the dragons, but... in Old Man Logan, there is that fight or multitude of fighting, but there's this thing that like Logan just kind of dedicates, like if I'm gonna die, I'm gonna die at the hands of the Hulk. Why do they hate each other so much? Is it just because Wolverine's a savage animal and so's he?
Yeah, I think so. And that was just the way they were pitted against each other from day one, so that made the storyline.
But them having one of the best verses in the comic books to people, it's cool that Wolverine made his first appearance not in an X-Men comic, but in a Hulk one, which started the battle of them against each other. But we both believe that as much as they can regenerate, I'm going to put my money on this little beauty because we know that when Wolvie gives up his adamantium, and they start breaking his bones. I mean, for goodness sakes, in the movie Logan, they were beating the hell out of him.
Yeah, he's a little bony at the end.
Yeah.
Gets a little old.
Yeah. And he would just, if it was bones, he'd be breaking. He can eat adamant. He can eat anything. So, he actually has a pretty big appetite. I still want to know if he was eating sausage in rolled up pancakes in Avengers. That's what I think it was. They've never answered, like, the the Russo brothers have answered a lot of questions. They've never answered that one. What was he eating?
At the end of the...
No, when he was taking the
Avengers?
picture. The Professor Hulk, when he's taking a picture with the kids. Was he eating pancakes that had sausage rolled up in them? That's what it looks like.
I remember the big bowl of eggs. He was like, here, have some.
Yeah. Listen to your mother.
Hulk up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't like Professor Hulk.
Hate it.
So, but we'll get to that in a second, as promised. The TV show, which I grew up on, which is very strange. I was born in 85, yet this show like re-aired when I was a kid. They put it back on television probably because they realized they made a savage mistake.
Savage.
But TV show came out November 4th, 1977 to May 12th, 1982. It was 5 seasons, but the last season was only 7 episodes. It was on CBS, believe it or not. So when I was a kid growing up, very, very young, this is unheard of because in today's day of on-demand and, you know, the ability to watch things on all different networks and whatnot and be a kid and you get to watch Boy Meets World and Full House and all these shows that I grew up on, you can grow up on now too. Back in the day, there was no on-demand, there was no DVR, there was no streaming of anything, there was no internet. So for you to grow up and watch the Hulk show, and then for me to grow up and watch it as if it was real and new again, I mean, I watched it like it was a new show. What can you say about that they felt the need to put it back?
Again, dating myself?
Yeah.
So did I.
But you know what I mean? Like, you saw it as new, but so did I.
Yeah.
So how strange is that like when CBS canceled it, it came back to television in a non-on-demand, non-virtual, non-anything that we're used to now world. For some reason, they felt the need to re-release the Hulk.
Because that's how it was. It was kind of groundbreaking in different aspects.
Yeah.
It was the first time you got to see a Marvel character like in person.
Yeah.
So Lou Ferrigno, who was a behemoth of a dude, you know, bigger than
with like half of Marge Simpson's hair.
Yeah.
With the big
but
hair.
he was bigger than Arnold Schwarzenegger. He was bigger than most of those bodybuilders. He was like 6'5".
He looks like a jacked up Andrew Cuomo.
Yeah, right.
He really kind of does.
But I mean, he was a monster of a dude.
Yeah.
Who they spray painted him green, ripping clothes off. Dude, it was awesome.
Right at the end of I still remember pieces of the intro where we like see like Dr. Banner in the lab, and then his eyes turn green, and you see him, and then like he goes down, and there's a shadow, and then you see Lou Ferrigno just and like pulling it off, and you're seeing like him all painted green. It was one of the scariest. Like honestly, watching the intro was scary.
Yeah,
that's what was so cool. Is like from the beginning, and my mom kind of said like, I don't know if I want you watching this scary show, but I was like, Mom, it's the Hulk.
It's the Hulk, Mom.
Yeah, so I was like, I was scared, but I wasn't.
So rewind 10 years, I was watching it new on TV. Same thing. I was like 4, 5, 6, but I was watching it and I remember it because I don't know, I just do.
Yeah.
But I remember watching it on TV, and it was on late too. It was like 8 or 9 o'clock, so I had to argue every single time to watch it.
But I love that it and it was on CBS.
CBS.
It was on the 3, 5, and 9.
It was mainstream.
It was one of the if you had the rabbit ears, black and white, old TV, you could watch the Hulk.
For sure.
It wasn't one of those like Disney Plus shows. It wasn't one of those pay-per-view or something or HBO. Like you would think that HBO would have like picked it up, but this was a CBS show that for whatever reason back in the day they took a chance on it. And what's hilarious now is they canceled the show, and now the CW makes the CW. When it went from the WB to turn into the CW, it wasn't a channel that anybody knew. It was like, out of all the broadcast networks, it was 5th or 6th. And then they brought the Arrowverse, and they bring in Arrow, Flash, Batwoman, Legends of Tomorrow, Supergirl. They bring in all of these shows, and it's relevant. But way back in the day, CBS did it with the Hulk. So it's almost like they had no idea what they had.
No. And
because nowadays people would love it.
And that's what I mean. If you watch interviews with Stan Lee before he died, he would say that they could never. That's why they never did movies, because they could never properly. They didn't have the animation or the special effects to do them justice. Yeah. So those are the real reasons why they never. They made some one-off movies like a Spider-Man movie, Captain America, yeah, but they're real cheesy. So they never really went full speed into movies because there was no way to translate what they were doing in the comics into the movies until recently, 10, 15 years.
And that's a good point. And so I mean, for you and I growing up, our comic book characters coming to life was really Batman and the Hulk shows.
Yeah.
And
Batman.
then at one point Lois and Clark.
Oh.
So Lois and Clark too, which I think, I
Yeah.
got to meet Dean Cain, who I told him face to face when I got to speak with him that he will always be my Superman.
No.
Because that's what I grew up
For me, obviously, again, I keep saying I'm old, but
Christopher Reeves.
Christopher Reeves.
Yeah.
It's like, damn, that's a band.
Brandon Routh, for people hating his Superman, he looks like Christopher Reeves.
Yeah?
I think his face to face.
Is it the new dude?
No, Brandon Routh was the one that everybody hated. That one, Superman Returns.
Yeah. The semi-new Superman. Yeah. Okay.
But
okay.
the Superman now, Henry Cavill.
But he was a short dude though. I mean, he was kind of thick, but he was kind of short.
Well, like Henry Cavill, like he looks like.
That's one thing.
But then I also like
that's
Tom.
one
I also like what is it? Tom? Is it Tom Whelan? The one that was in Smallville. I like him.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't have a lot of opinion on Superman.
And I also like the guy that's playing it on the new show Superman and Lois right now. So, which just started.
And I still haven't seen that show.
But it's like really early. You're not. You can catch up.
I'm a binger
Superman's
now,
a dad now. So
he's a dad.
2 kids. Yep.
Good
Who
for
don't
him.
know that his dad's Superman yet.
Good for him.
Yeah. So very, very cool. But no, I mean, going back to the TV show, for people that don't know or haven't seen it, the name was changed to Dr. David Banner instead of Bruce Banner because the creator of the show, the director of the show's son name was David. So they changed the show to Dr. David Banner. And Bill Bixby was the actor that was Dr. David Banner. And we mentioned Lou Ferrigno was the Incredible Hulk. And, I don't think Bixby gets enough credit, but this show was really, really cool. It was really well put together. The changing of the name was interesting. A kid wouldn't really know that too much, but, nowadays you go back on it. But for a show made in the late 70s, early 80s, I still think that, like, it was a pioneer show.
Yeah.
And just like Batman growing up, like, with Adam West, I really genuinely feel like this Incredible Hulk show was one of those, like, things that nobody was doing. So back then, if they knew what they had and they fostered it and they really took care of it, or Marvel Studios was around back then, I mean, this thing could have really been... I know that the technology had to catch up, but the show itself, it carried a lot of weight, and I just don't think that CBS really understood that. I mean, back in the day, there was nothing like it. There was a couple shows on television that were superhero related.
Yeah, but they took it off because it was too scary.
It was too dark.
Too scary.
Where nowadays
we can't
it's like,
have rage monsters running around smashing stuff.
And now the CW has all shows like that.
Or vampires.
Yeah, vampires to demons to... I mean, we've seen Constantine get on television. We've seen Ghost Rider on broadcast TV now.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I just think it's really interesting that when I went back and I looked at the dates, November 4th, 1977 to May 12th, 1982, that to me, born in 1985, I still to this day am like, it blows my mind that I'm like, that wasn't a new show, because I used to just sit and watch it. And I remember it was really darkly, like dimly created too. Like it was so dark on set that you almost had to like lean into the TV to see like the... Yeah. And maybe they did that because they had to make up for not having the technology.
Yeah, and I remember that too. I remember it was really dark. Like when they fought like the Sasquatch and stuff. It was always like kind of dark and in the rain, and it was hard to watch sometimes.
But Lou Ferrigno still, maybe when they make the multiverse, they can paint Lou green and put him in the multiverse, even if for a minute.
He's not as big as he was. I actually just met him, I don't know, a couple years ago. We were at a Comic-Con, and he was there, and I met him. He was one of my, like, everybody's got their fanboy dudes that, I can't wait to meet him.
And he was one of yours.
He was one of mine for sure.
I also know him as the neighbor on King of Queens to Kevin James.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Which is cool. But speaking of different Hulks, there's been 3 theatrical versions of the Hulk. The first one was Eric Bana in the movie that used the very, 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 very neon green, which bled through, which made the Hulk not look like he was a solid figure, but essentially that he was coloring outside the lines. I remember his giant jump. I remember how they shot it like a comic book, with in different squares and panels. So I remember the panels. I remember his jump. I remember bleeding on the screen. I remember the massive dogs. And I also remember that the movie made little to no sense and made me want to go night-night. But I was happy to see the Hulk. At the same time,
But
I couldn't tell you what the story was.
I was super excited about that movie, even though Eric Bana really didn't do it for me.
Yeah.
But I was excited that it was a Hulk movie.
Right.
Full-scale
Full-on
Hulk movie.
I mean, and it was. I mean, and that it was it was in a world of its own, but very strange and...
But I did like it. I thought, yeah, the Hulk could have been... The CGI wasn't quite there yet, but the scenes were, like, the tank scenes where he's smashing the tanks, some of the fight scenes, the dog scenes, I thought it was good. And, you know, they had Nick Nolte as the dad, which he, like, was perfect. Literally, he looks like that, like, every day anyways.
Out of control.
Right?
He's got that stringy hair.
Yeah.
Like, he actually
He
looked...
was the janitor.
He looked like the... I mean, Nick Nolte essentially looked like his real life.
He was playing himself on TV.
It was I think in the credits it said Eric Bana as the Hulk, Nick Nolte as himself. But I mean, this was so. And the thing that I thought was cool in the beginning is they showed the evolution of the Hulk and getting the gamma radiation in the intro.
Yeah.
There are some really creative things that they did that they haven't done in any other movie, and one of them was the panel, which caused you to really like get confused because you didn't know which was happening first. But I commend them on doing it like a comic and bringing something new to the screen. And I don't know, I guess what it says to us in a way is like we haven't seen it ever again like that because it didn't work. But at the same time, they had the balls to try it.
I disagree with that. Yes, the
story made no sense.
It did make sense.
It did, but it didn't.
If you knew the Hulk story, it made sense.
Yeah, I mean, like, it did.
If you were a outsider watching it and didn't know anything about Hulk, then it didn't make sense.
I just feel like I didn't know where it was going. Because the dogs are fighting and then they just go.
Well, it could have been shorter, for sure.
It could have been a lot shorter. And what I'm saying is the screenwriting the story could have been told better and more succinctly. But the panels and the discussion and how they shot it and how they edited the movie was a very ballsy, artistic approach that was totally different.
Yeah, because
that's really never been touched before.
They were shooting it as a comic book. Basically.
Yeah, it was a one-off of like saying, this is such a unique way to do it, and it didn't work. But at the same time, to your point, I think the movie will always hold up in the fact that, like, if you want to watch a Hulk movie or any type of movie that's with superheroes that's unlike anything else,
I agree.
Eric Bana's Hulk is watching Eric Bana's Hulk is not comparable.
Eric Bana.
No.
Just the Hulk.
No, but like watching that movie is you can't compare it to anything.
It's unique for sure.
But
on to the next one.
One of the best actors, if not the best actor to play the Hulk.
And the best Hulk movie so far.
Edward Norton.
Besides Ragnarok.
Who's very methodical. Edward Norton, I don't know if I said Eric. Edward Norton, when he got into this character, I believed the pain of Bruce Banner. I believed the angst. I believed the frustration. I saw a man who was essentially having PTSD, who had depression, who needed a therapist, who couldn't control himself. I saw a man at the end of his rope.
I loved that. Was my favorite Hulk movie.
It was a very deeply emotional movie,
and it was very dark too.
Yeah,
I mean it was very savage. The Hulk savage in that movie was the best.
When he's ripping things apart and he turns and he yells, and you see like his chest,
the Abomination, and he's screaming. And
who was the one that was made? When the guy fell on the ground with his brain, is that the leader?
The leader, yep.
That we never saw.
Never.
But that Marvel said we might see.
We'll see him.
And the Abomination.
If they ever do anything forward with Hulk, they have to do that.
Do you like the Abominations like brown and do you like that his spine is like right out?
Well, I mean, I'm a comic truist, so it was. I just like to see him on screen.
Right.
Maybe the way they did him. You know, I remember him with the pointy ears and a little crazier, but
yeah.
It was cool, and I liked the way they did that, but the Hulk in that movie, the way they made him super out of control and savage was like
Well, and also when they did Eric Bana's Hulk,
amazing.
bleeding off the screen, there was not, and again, a sign of the times and the technology. It was almost like they made that movie too soon.
Yeah, they did.
And so when you saw the Incredible Hulk with Edward Norton and he flexed, you saw the ridges that you would see in a normal person's chest that's very muscular. You saw the pecs. You saw like the way the body moved. You saw the abominations detail. And, so to me it was like seeing the Hulk and his hair move and the way that he was. The technology still wasn't up to the taking Mark Ruffalo's, essentially that he could like taking his facial, right? So like having like the light bulbs and whatnot on his face, and to actually capture and make the Hulk as the Hulk look like Bruce Banner still, because when Edward Norton turned into the Hulk, it looked nothing like him.
Yeah, but
the attention to detail on the muscles was cool.
It wasn't just about that. It was more of the storyline too.
The story was fantastic,
and he was the ultimate savage in that movie. You know what I mean? Even with the fight scenes,
when they surround him with the tanks, and he's like spinning the one and hitting them all,
smashing everything.
Thunderbolt Ross came in that one,
and like he was trying at the end, he was gonna kill the Abomination. He had the chains, and they had to basically call his girlfriend to tell him to stop.
Yeah, and I think for me, and I mean, that story, and Edward Norton actually said something along the lines of, obviously I'm paraphrasing, but he didn't like the way that the story was told, and he almost feels like the direction should have been different, or the screenwriting should have been different.
Well, and that's why he wasn't the Hulk in the Avengers.
That it's almost like he was blaming other people for the movie not doing that well.
Well, I don't think it was. There's just, unfortunately, the Hulk is not a kid-friendly film, and that's the trouble that Marvel has with the Hulk. Right. Is that in order to do it properly, it's not going to be kid-friendly. Because it's very savage.
Well, Professor Hulk is very kid-friendly.
Well, that's why
you don't like him.
It sucks.
Yeah. But the one that's taking selfies?
That's what, yeah, the selfie Hulk is not the one that I grew up with. I grew up with Hulk smashing shit.
He does it all for the gram. Yeah. About that Instagram girl.
Yeah.
Hulk taking selfies.
Yeah.
Very strange.
It's not my Hulk.
Say cheese. It's like just stupid. But Edward Norton, and I think the thing that's cool is at the end of it all that he's still running. Yeah. Like he literally kind of makes a decision after he hulks out, can't control it, and like you said with the Abomination and all that, he leaves and he like escapes to the ends of the earth to essentially put himself into solitude so that he can't hurt anybody anymore. And there's this whole connection of the Marvel Cinematic Universe in this, that he's running in the snow, he's escaping. And in the end credits, we see Thunderbolt Ross with a glass of alcohol, but it's green alcohol. And who walks in to meet with him?
Tony Stark.
But Mr. Stark himself talking about, what they're trying to do and putting a team together and all this. And so this is where we see Universal Studios and Marvel Studios cross.
The most exciting, 60 seconds of any Marvel movie up until that time.
Because you never thought it would happen.
Because that made everything possible.
Right.
That you thought that wasn't going to happen. That made you realize that they're truly going to commit to doing the Avengers, bringing Iron Man, and you're going to see all these characters together for the first time on screen, done as well as they could.
And who would have thought that the next time the Hulk turned back into Banner, it would be a different actor?
Yeah, what the F?
You know what I mean? So weird.
I know.
But, I think, for me, there was so much about the Edward Norton movie that was good. But I think it's so much credit to him, because when you see anything with the Hulk, so many people focus on the Hulk, where Edward Norton made me feel bad for Bruce Banner. Yeah. And I think that's what made the movie exciting, is that he made me feel the pain and the anguish and the loss of control of Banner and running his whole life and being the human side of it. I think what Edward Norton did is what he does in a lot of movies. He made it such a multi-layered lasagna that it wasn't just Hulk smash. It was Bruce Banner, like, do I kill myself? What do I do? Like, how do I get rid of this thing that I don't want anymore?
Yeah.
And the whole movie was about that.
Riveting.
I love that. I build this whole thing up. It's a meaty lasagna. Riveting.
There you go.
You know, riveting. One word. That's all you need. But so Thunderbolt Ross essentially has been teased for over a decade.
Someday it's going to happen.
And drinking the reds. I mean, drinking the green alcohol as well. I mean, like, that put us in a place where this could be real. But before we get into the newest version of the Hulk theatrically, the third version, the Edward Norton Hulk movie made history in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as there is over 20 movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and only one of them is not made by Marvel Studios. It started with...
Guess which one?
Iron Man. Started with Iron Man by Marvel Studios. It was a make or break with Jon Favreau and Robert Downey Jr. as Tony Stark. And they bring all this through. And we start with Iron Man, which was either going to work or it wasn't going to work with Marvel Studios.
That was like a roll all in.
Yeah,
I'm all in.
You got Robert Downey Jr. out of rehab, trying to get his life back together from drugs and alcohol and all this stuff.
Perfect.
You got Mickey Rourke doing the same thing. You got Jon Favreau, really pushing the director side of things. And all this stuff's going on. And we go from that movie all the way to where we are today. 4 Avengers movies in, Spider-Man and counting. And within all of this mix, Universal Studios makes The Incredible Hulk, the one with Edward Norton, and they make it canon. It's the only non-Marvel Studios movie to be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe timeline. Why do you think they did that?
Because they thought they were going to be able to buy the franchise, and they didn't.
But knowing that they didn't have Edward Norton, why was it so important?
Well, they did have Edward Norton, but I think that whole blow up with them and him and the studio, that came after.
Oh yeah, recently he fought with, like, saying that it wasn't what he wanted to do, and he had his own script.
So they were, I think they were legitimately taking that as the jump off onto the Avengers, but
taking a non-Marvel Studios made movie, essentially what Disney did and Marvel did, which is uncharacteristic, is they said, this movie that we have no ownership of, no rights of, and didn't make any money off of, is going to be part of our story.
Well, it's just going to be able to, it was a jumping off point for them. So
they obviously thought the story was good enough.
Yeah, it was definitely good enough, and the character and the movie was good enough. It wasn't just the Eric Bana, fiasco, but it was a very good movie.
So to do that and really never talk about, the switch from Edward Norton to, and I think even they could have done something funny with Robert Downey Jr.'s Tony Stark, where the Hulk turns back into Banner, and he could just walk up to him and have the normal, like, snarky banter and just walk by him and go, I remember you differently, Banner. And then just walk by. Like, last time I saw you, you looked a little bit different. And you'd be like, what did you get rid of the facial hair?
I don't know. They don't like to hurt their feelings of themselves.
Yeah, but to have that, to me, it brings the notion of, obviously Thunderbolt Ross was in there. He was the Sokovia Accords, one of the front runners for that. So having him in the Incredible Hulk and making it canon, even though it was a Universal Studios, not a Marvel Studios movie, bringing in Thunderbolt Ross meant that they've been playing the long game with Red Hulk, and it also means that the leader in the Abomination could be coming back, because there's no reason to take an Edward Norton-led Hulk movie unless you intend to take the story and or the characters from that movie and bring it to life, which they haven't done yet.
Or maybe they take it just like the Spider-Verse, they do the Hulkiverse, and maybe they kick it back into its own movie. And
have Mark Ruffalo fight Edward Norton's Hulk?
That would be so awesome.
You think so?
Yes.
Hulk versus Hulk?
Yeah.
Are you ready? We're ready to see Red Hulk, though.
Red Hulk is...
I told you, in Black Widow, I think he's coming.
I hope so.
July 9th. I told you there's going to be 5 characters introduced. In my opinion, my gut, 5 characters will be introduced into the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Some of them that we've already seen in the preview, some we haven't, like Taskmaster, Red Guardian. But I believe that Black Widow will introduce 5 characters to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, one of them being the Red Hulk.
I believe. I hope you're right.
I think it's going to happen.
I hope it does.
The third iteration in the theaters of the Incredible Hulk is Mark Ruffalo's Hulk. Thor Ragnarok. We saw him. We saw him in Avengers. All the Avengers.
I do like Ragnarok. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
And I do like the Savage Hulk in the Avengers. I'm just not a Ruffalo fan per se.
Oh, Mark Ruffalo, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but the way they did the Hulk in the Avengers, was great. The way they did Ragnarok, great.
Yeah. You don't like Professor Hulk.
Professor Hulk and the way they portrayed him in, the Endgame Infinity.
I mean, he doesn't fight in Infinity War, except for the first couple minutes.
Yeah, it was brutally...
And they say that he wasn't afraid. The Russo brothers said Hulk didn't go back into Banner because he was afraid, but that's the only thing that makes sense to me, is that he realized he couldn't beat Thanos, and he beats everybody, so he got kind of butthurt about it.
Yeah, that's the way I felt about it, so I really not a fan of the way that they did Hulk. Dude, they did him dirty on those two movies.
Well, in the Professor Hulk, when they have to go back in time and they have to essentially mimic what they did before, and he takes his shirt off, and they're like, you got to go smash things, and he's like, oh, I find this so childish or whatever, and he's like, grr. And it's like, I don't know. I mean, he's so evolved now into this, like, the best of Banner and the best of Hulk. But he's as big as he is. It's almost like he's a big wrestler, but he forgot how to wrestle.
Yeah, he's like PG.
You like how I brought it back to the other Hulk show we did?
That's right. There we go. But yeah,
it's called a transition.
That Hulk, the new Hulk, and the way they portray him.
Yeah. And
right from the Thanos fight, like, I can't believe that they let him. Hulk has beat Thanos in the comics. I mean, yeah, he had some Infinity Stones, but they did him real dirty. What
do you think about Hulk saying that there was a lot of what was coming off of the Infinity Stones was gamma radiation, so he decides to snap to bring everything back, and he passes out, and we see that it goes up his arm, and his arm's in a sling at the end of the movie, so he was able to handle the Infinity Stones, but he almost died. Did that show him as strong or weak?
Strong.
Okay.
Because the only other person that really did it was, two.
Yeah,
Iron Man and Thanos, but Iron Man died from it. So
right, and in the comics, Captain Marvel's had it, Black Panther's had it.
Yeah.
It's been shared in a lot of different places before, but coming off of this...
But doing the snap is like something different.
Right, yeah, the snap and using the power of all the stones simultaneously. Where do we go from here with the Hulk in the MCU?
I don't know. I think they're going to try to do some PG-13 Hulk stuff, as usual.
I think what they need to do is bring the Red Hulk into the Black Widow movie, and then we need to see him fight Red Hulk.
And bring back a good actor for Hulk.
So you want them to get rid of Ruffalo, which they're not going to do.
I know. Maybe they could, maybe they can do it in the past and bring back Edward Norton, just like they're doing the past.
Or maybe they could pay Ed Norton, kill off Mark Ruffalo's Hulk, and in the multiverse have the other Hulk come through. So you would have to thank Wanda for that then.
Yes, right.
So then you owe Wanda a big thank you.
Well, I mean, so that's like the Black Widow.
Yeah,
is obviously going to be set in her previous life. Because she's obviously dead now.
Well, somewhere within the Avengers fighting the Infinity War, somewhere within the timeline.
So
not recent.
So they could also do that type of setting with Hulk and anything else.
Right. So, I mean, to me...
I don't know where they're going with this. I don't know.
We're going cosmic.
Yeah.
We're going quantum realm. We're going to the X-Men. Basically, the multiverse is going to rip everything open, which is going to give us an excuse to bring the X-Men in, bring in the Fantastic Four.
So I think they're just going to put Hulk on the shelf for the next 2 years. I don't think you're gonna see him that much. I think he's gonna be more of a side character, maybe.
Yeah. Well, as of right now, because of the role with Universal, Universal can make a Hulk-led movie. Marvel cannot until the rights came back. So, as many rights as they got from Fox with Fantastic Four and some of the Celestial stuff, and like Galactus and Silver Surfer and Deadpool and the X-Men, Universal has the rights to the Hulk movies. So, they can make a Hulk-led movie, but like Thor Ragnarok, if they were to make a Planet Hulk movie or something like that, as long as it's got this is how crazy and how ridiculous it is. They can make a Hulk-centric movie as long as it's named after a different character in the title. So they can make a Hulk movie that's 70%, 90% the Hulk, but it can't be called the Hulk.
Well, that's what they did, basically.
In Ragnarok.
Well, not just Ragnarok, but all the way... So basically what they did with Ruffalo was... They basically... Or Ruffalo, sorry, Ruffalo. Jesus.
All right.
They basically told him, well, we're going to do basically a Hulk film within these 3 movies. So how would you like to do it? Yeah. And they basically broke it up through, like, Avengers, Thor Ragnarok, and through to, maybe, push Hulk and have him
He still
be
wants to tell the story.
A highlight.
Mark Ruffalo wants to tell the Hulk story.
Well, of course he does. He wants to get paid, bro.
Right, but I want to actually see the Hulk.
But I want to see it, too. Yeah, I do.
So it would be nice to see it. I think the Red Hulk's up next. And if they're going to bring the Leader and the Abomination, it would be nice to see this. I mean, I don't know. Maybe the multiverse will open up a savage monster world. Something like that. Who knows? But we'll see where they take it. We know that Marvel's smart. Mark Ruffalo signed on for the next bit here. So you got to get used to it.
I know.
But the Hulk is at least smashing something and has done some interesting stuff. And, of course, we got to see the regular Hulk when we flashed back in Avengers Endgame, and they went back to that. So, with that being stated, the Incredible Hulk came to us first in 1962, and now more than 6 decades later, we're still talking about him. So, just like Hulk Hogan, the other Hulk is going to always be relevant when you talk about their universe.
Yeah,
sure. He's one of the original. He's one of the OGs.
The OG.
So the Hulk coming to you here from Green Goliath Toys and Games, 219 County Route 57 in Phoenix, New York, in the Three Rivers Plaza. Come out and see them for all of their Hulk figures and all the great stuff they have, from the Hulk to Marvel to Dragon Ball Z to Pokemon to Transformers, a ton of Star Wars stuff, G.I. Joes, and so on and so forth. This is a dream for collectors as well as for kids. If you're going to take them out of the box or leave them in, this is the place for you. And when it comes to rare Funko Pops, there is no better spot that you will find in Central and Upstate New York. Green Goliath. Call them at 315-561-6123 for questions on what they have or what they can get in, because Rob is always looking to bring in new stuff. That's 315-561-6123. So if it's not in the store, it doesn't mean that it can't be, and it doesn't mean that it's not coming, as things are always changing at Green Goliath. So for Super Powered Pop and Green Goliath, bringing you Super Powered Goliath, this has been our Hulk Part 2 with the Incredible Hulk, and we can only hope that Mark Ruffalo will do you justice from here.
Let's do it.
Well, and I can't say Justice League, but I can say do you justice.
Justice League.
Maybe we'll have a Zack Snyder cut of the Incredible Hulk.
Maybe, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do with him. Hopefully it'll be something something more violent.
Yeah.
Let's leave it there.
Well, if you want to get it dark, the Deadpool and everybody else is coming. Maybe the Hulk can be there as well. And maybe he'll fight Colossus. We'll take care and we'll talk to you soon.
So dope.